This is the alignment jig. It comes in a clear plastic like this with a little tiny photo in the back. Just open it up and pull that out. All right, so I have the two pieces. This is the Eddie jig, and this is the little tiny photo that's gonna go into here. So if you're looking at our jigs, you'll notice that they're always shifted so that this side is higher up and there's more. So the side that's shorter always goes towards you, and you always feed Eddie the wider portion of the jig. That's how you know which direction it goes into the Eddie. So what I'm going to do is I already have on my Eddie a couple of pieces. I have the main part of the Jiggy system with the white paper plate already installed. You just peel it and stick it on. Make sure it's really well aligned on the edges because your jig needs to be able to fit over the top of it. The next piece I have is the grip pad, and it's super simple. It just goes right on top of the white paper plate so that you can get some grip, so that when you're printing, if you're printing without a jig, it doesn't slide or move. You have grip, keep your cookies from moving and slipping and sliding around. All right, and the last piece I have is this little tiny piece of paper towel. You don't have to use this. I like the nice, snug, secure fit that it gives me. So I just lay that right over my Eddie tongue. And then when you're placing this on there, if you notice the back of it, it has this little cutout, and that's because if you have the standard tongue that comes with Eddie from the factory, you need this space for it to go in. But if you're using the universal tray, it will go on there either direction, but you still want to put this slot into Eddie. So it would go like this. Get it lined up, set it on there. With the paper towel on there, it's kind of tight. I don't want to just cram down. If I do that, it kind of tweaks Eddie's tongue. So I just put my fingers underneath and on top and just give it a nice solid push down. But that way I'm supporting it so I'm not bending anything. All right, now we have our jig. Remember, put the bigger side in, feed Eddie the big fat side first. And it just pops right over the top of that. And then I have my little photo. Just goes right on there. I have an extra one, I'm gonna set it off to the side. All right, bear with me. I'm gonna try and print flat. So that might be a little bit tricky. I already have a couple things pulled up, so let me just kind of close things down as if you are starting from scratch. All right, so I don't have anything pulled up. I'm just going to go in and open Bartender, just like you would any other time. And I'm not going to use anything I already have saved because I want to show you how I go ahead and do this. All right, so in an email that you received, you will have gotten some files from me. The one that you want to open is called BBC Alignment Images. These are all the images that are going to be included in that email that's coming to you. The one we want to open right now is BBC Alignment Images, and then just BBC Align. All right, so we have the BBC Align image opened. It's already in Bartender. It's already formatted to the size that it needs to be for the Jiggy system. So what we need to do right now is go into Print Hub before we start anything. And there's a couple of things that we need to make sure exist. So we're gonna go over to the Alignment tab. This little button right here that says Cookie Centering Scan, you need to not have it enabled. So it needs to be turned off. So if you notice, if it was turned on, it would have a checkbox in it. We do not want a checkbox in that one. So make sure there is no checkbox there. So that's all we need to set up in there for right this second. I'm gonna need to come back to it, so I'm gonna minimize it down to the bottom. All right, I want to print this. I wanna see how aligned my Eddie is. So all I'm going to do is go up. I'm gonna do File Print because I can see that better sitting it flat than trying to find the little icon. But however you print with Eddie, just one copy, press Print, I'm gonna send it over. when I get these two blue flashing lights, see those? Two of them are flashing. I'm going to hit the pause button, not the load and unload, the pause button. And Eddie is going to do his magic and he's going to print onto our alignment jig for us. All right, there we have it. And I'll kind of hold it up so it's a little bit closer. As you can see, what we're going for is this little circle in the middle. It needs to be perfectly aligned inside my little circle. And currently, it is not. It is a little bit high and a little bit off to the side. Can you see that? Okay, so what we need to do now is use these adjustment images to determine which way we need to go. Now, Eddie only adjusts a millimeter at a time. Think about a millimeter, a centimeter, and then the little itty bitty dots in between. So when you go to adjust that, which is in, we're gonna pull Print Hub back up. This one right here, the same one where we just turned off Cookie Scan, it's the same one. Here's our horizontal offset and our vertical offset. You can only do one at a time. So we're going to start with the vertical because it's the one that seems to be the most out of whack on our Eddie. All right, so if I were to just go into vertical and press up to 0.33, I'm not going to see any movement. That is going to move it less than a millimeter. It is going to be very minuscule. So to kind of get a feel for what it's doing, I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to change the first number. So it was 0.25 when we started. I'm going to change it to 2.25. So you can see what that will do. Okay, hit that and then hit enter or click out of it so that you stop flashing on there. All right, now I'm going to rinse this off so that we're starting with a new thing. There's a couple different ways to do it. You can rinse it off and dry it. You can wipe it with a damp towel. I've also included 3 other images of different colors. So you could leave those there and just print a new circle in a different color so that you're just printing over the same one over and over. However you choose to do it, it all works the same. Again, we're feeding Eddie the bigger portion always. Fingers underneath, push down gently so that you're not bending your tongue all up. All right, I've made my changes, so I'm just gonna click back over to here. And I am just going to print again. See what we get this time. All right, so here's what came out. As you can see, now when I did a full two, it shifted it down. It was printing right on the very lip, right here, right on the edge. It was too high. Now Eddie is too low. So by going 2, I noticed that 0 was too high, 2 was too low. So I'm thinking I should try 1.25 now just to see what we get. So let's do it this time, opening the next color so that we can see the movement. So again, in those files that I sent you, the alignment ones, we'll open that back up. And if you go to the BBC Align images, open that up. And let's do red. So we're gonna open the red one. And what you're gonna see is it's just 2 circles. Not very exciting, but the adjustment is already here. All right, let's print this. Oops, I don't wanna print yet. What did I forget to do? I did not open Print Hub. We could have printed it again. We would have just printed right over the top of what we already have. It's already a Print Hub open down here. Open it back up. And we went from 0.25 to 2.25, which was too far. It moved it down too far. So we want to, and I know if I need to go positive or negative based on what it is. So we're adjusting the vertical. If you look on here, it is too far positive. So I need to go negative, which would be subtract from it, minus. So I'm going to subtract 1 whole number and make this 1.25. instead of 2.25. Okay. And then you need to click out of it so that the flashing goes away. If you don't, Eddie doesn't save that and it won't change. Okay, let's print. Again, you can print from clicking on here or file print, whatever is the way you normally print using Eddie and Bartender. Now you can see it moved it up and split the difference in between. I think I'm pretty happy with how that is up and down on a vertical. Now we need to adjust our horizontal, and it's pretty close. It would get you there, but it might leave you a little bit off to the side when you go to print your cookies. So what I'm going to do is I think that my circle needs to go this direction. So I need to adjust my horizontal in the positive direction. And it looks like it needs to go this way about as much as we just moved it up. So that was a whole 1. So I'm going to change my settings, 1 whole number, and we'll print a different color so we can see that move. So I need to go back into Print Hub. And now we're working on adjusting our horizontal offset. And it's currently at 1.10, and we wanted to increase that by 1 whole number. So backspace, and I'm going to do 2.10. Again, it's flashing there, it hasn't saved it yet, so I need to click out of it. So now I no longer have a cursor flashing. All right, that's all set up, cookie scans off. We've got a horizontal, vertical, back into our file. We're gonna do a different one. We can go back into the images that I sent you, alignment images, and we can do green this time. I'm just gonna open it. It's gonna open a new tab at the top for Eddie, and we got green. And we're just gonna send that to Eddie to print. All right. It's really hard to see because I've got all sorts of little circles going on right now. But looking at it, I'm very happy with how centered my little circles are on my little photo circle. So just to confirm that I actually am really happy, let's rinse this off. And run it again. Remember, when you're putting it back on, you always feed Eddie the bigger portion of the jig. If you were to put it on upside down and give yourself the bigger portion of the jig, you wouldn't get the right results because you would be not centering to the right spot. All right, my jig is on. Photo is in the middle. Again, don't just cram it on there without supporting the bottom of it. You will not be happy with yourself. It works, but eventually your tongue is gonna get loose or bent, and then the alignment won't stay, and it just won't be a good day. All right, so I'm just gonna go back to the original black BBC Align tab. I have them across the top here. I've got the blue and the red and the green. We're just gonna go back to the standard one. File, print, or the print icon, whichever works for you. Print. I've got my 2 blue flashing lights. Done making noise, and pause we go. It's a little bit blurry because I didn't get it dried off, but I'm looking at it and it looks like it still could use a slight bit of adjustment. So we can go ahead and do that. I'm actually going to swap back to my other one real quick because for some reason that one was wanting to smear. So rinse these off. Just run them right under water. I know I'm out of view for that and you can't see it, but I'm just turning my faucet on and running water directly over them. Again, I've also taken just a damp paper towel and had it sitting at my work area, and so I could wipe it off. Unfortunately, I'm set up right next to the sink, so that's just the easiest for me. So we're just gonna run this again, putting this back on. If you look, remember again, don't forget that the notch goes into Eddie. If you have the standard tongue, you can't put it on backward. If you have the universal one, you can totally put it on backward and it will mess up your alignment. Feeding Eddie the bigger part of the jig. And make sure that you get that to go over the top. That's where it's important to get your white paper plate on there straight so that it fits. All right, my piece of paper towel, not necessary. You'll just find that it really makes a nice snug fit. Put your fingers underneath and pinch it. All right, let's run this again. I think we'll find that we have a nicely centered Eddie, and that is when the fun begins. Let's open Print Hub. Open, says me. My horizontal, you notice, I'll lift it back up again for you. I'm looking at this, it's still off to the side just a touch. Do you see that? So I need to adjust my Eddie. I need to move it horizontally in the negative direction. So I'm up here horizontally, it's 210. So I need to go, I don't need to go down a whole step. Maybe I do. Let's try one, see what we get. Again, click out of it. That, paper towel for a snug fit. Jiggy. And I'm just gonna print a different color. Make sure it's not flashing. Go up here to my red. And if you wanted to, you could open all colors before you ever started so that you just had them there to click in between. There we go. Now if you look, that little red circle moved over and it is pretty much dead center of our little circle. I'm just gonna rinse the little circle, not the big one, and we'll print it again and see where our little circle ends up. It takes a few steps, but once you have it, you're ready to rock and roll. I do recommend checking your center every once in a while though, because as things go on and off and move, things just get jostled around a little and change. I'm just gonna go over to the green, just so it's something different. I like different. Keep it creative. Two flashing lights, blood making noise, and away we go. Still not quite. Needs to go over just a touch. Do you see that? Right here. This needs to go this way. No problem. We're just going to go to a different color. Let's do red. And then we need to go back into Print Hub because we need to adjust it. So I'm saying that my horizontal needs to go positive a little bit. Just going to do 2.1. Clicking out so I'm not flashing anymore. And let's print that. There we go. Now we moved it over. So you can see that the red circle moved over and it's more centered inside of it. All right, let's do something more fun than just a little itty bitty circle. So I'm going to clip my tongue back on there, put my base plate back on there, and let's do the flowers, the florals that we just got. This is a little floral plaque, and this is the jig that goes with it. Again, if you look at this, you can see it's shifted up towards me. So this is the part that goes closest to me. This part's thicker, and it goes into Eddie. You feed him the bigger portion, keep him happy. All right, and then my photo, which could be photo or a real cookie. I printed a bunch of them earlier. I can pull them out, show you what I got. All right, I have a whole bunch of jig templates in that one, but that's not what I want. I want the alignment one. These again are the files that I just sent you. Okay, so it's the flower bouquet template. I want to open that because that's our flower bouquet, and here is our template. So as you can see, now our bartender files look just like our jigs. Isn't that cool? So I want to insert a photo into this. Insert from file, just like you would any other media. And inside the alignment images that I sent you, that's those. And then here is the flower. We want to open the image. Hold it down, pull this. Now here's the fun part. You now know, because your Eddie is aligned, exactly what's going to print where. So this is my flower image, and here's my photo inside my jig. I see that my photo is just slightly bigger than my jig, so I'm leaving a little bit of white space around the edges because I know it's going to fit my cookie better. If your cookie fills the entire jig, you want to stretch this image to fill the entire jig. If you have less spread, then you would squish your cookie down. So you can use the jig image to align to the actual jig. Let's print something fun. Ready? Let's print our cookie with our flower bouquet. We don't need to measure anything. We don't need to do any sort of guessing where to put the cookie. We put it in the hole and we press print. Because our Eddie is perfectly aligned and we're using the new Jiggy templates, our cookie and our image prints exactly where we tell it to. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to measure it. We don't have to guess and try and make a square to put it into. We just put it in the template and print. Should we try a different shape? I'm not changing anything. I'm just taking my photo off. And let's do a baby onesie. So I have a baby onesie here. Now remember, the cutout needs to go into Eddie, and then you need to feed Eddie the bigger part of the jig. Okay, so we'll put him right there. Get your jig over the top. I have my grip pad is like shifted weird, so it's not wanting to clip on real quick and easy for us. Of course, because I'm trying to show you. All right, putting it back on the tongue. Remember, fingers underneath. We don't want to cram it all out of location. All right, I haven't sent you this because this is one that is up for sale, but I can open my bartender file with my shirt. I've already pulled it in and aligned it so that it's just slightly smaller because my photo has a slight amount of spread to it, but doesn't fill the entire jig. All right, drop your cookie into there, and let's print a onesie.
And when you buy the files, it will come with this. Send it over to the printer. To fashionable right clip pause. It's so done.
There we go. Because Eddie is aligned and because I'm using a Jiggy template, my onesie prints right where I want it, perfectly centered, no measuring, no thinking, just put it in the jig.